This is an open letter to Mr. Tom or Tim Kaplan. Hello, sir. How are you? Uh, I've seen a couple of your interviews recently, and first of all, I'm a fan of your suits. Very beautiful, obviously expensive suits. And recently, you told us of your early education, which also was of the same quality. Uh, tailor made in Swiss Alps, uh, and very expensive. Tailor made custom education in Swiss Alps, and very expensive. So you are a notch above the rest. Let's put it this way. In terms of economically, I guess connection wise. So when you go to exclusive areas and exclusive schools and exclusive clubs, um, you go above a notch above the rest. So all of that we accept. You're the man. Again, nice suits. But here's the thing, sir. With regards to the situation in the world today, you have some views that it's a little murky, it conflicts a lot of issues. So I thought, as an alien on Earth, I should, we should mention it. Maybe we are wrong, but mentioning it is better than not mentioning it. The thing is, in one of your recent interviews, you said basically, oh yeah, all those Arab states are basket case. Those Arabs who are not in the bed with us are a basket case. Well, who made them basket case? You have been, lobbing missiles at them because they're not in your camp. I'm not. Let's put all the religion and politics out of this for a second, Mr. Kaplan, and say there are two groups of people on Earth. We as aliens, this is what we see. There were a native group there in an area called Arabian Peninsula. I don't care what they called it 5,000 years ago. I don't care what they called it 10,000 years ago. Believe me, it had a name. 20,000 years ago, that area had a name. You no longer know that name because it was 20,000 years ago and they didn't have written records. But I can assure you that place was populated 20,000 years ago, which means the religion that supposedly has to be in charge over there, that religion goes back only to 5,000 years ago. Am I wrong? Judaism is understood as a 4 or 5,000 year old religion. So there were people there before, and before that there were Neanderthals, and before that there were the dinosaurs. All these folks have been living on that land, correct? How is it that suddenly the followers of one religion got special attention or special call, as in like only our deed counts from 5,000 years ago? The idea that, and have you looked in the mirror, Mr. Uh, Kaplan? You have the nice, fair skin of a person who has been in Northern Hemisphere for generations. We're talking about at least your ancestors had to have been in Europe 20,000 years ago. Because it takes 20,000 years to go from black African to white European, fair skin. It takes at least 10, 20,000 years. It doesn't happen in 5,000 years of how Judaism is. So you're basically claiming that we were brown when we were here 4,000 years ago, but since we left, we turned pink. No, your only connection to this land is your religion, supposedly, But it's a religion. Anybody can become Jewish. I like to become Jewish. I mean, if I can, if it helps me protect me and mine, okay, I turn Jewish. How do I go about doing this? If it's about protection, count me in. Everybody likes protection, extra protection. Count me in. I will become Jewish tomorrow. Tell me the time, and tell me the procedure to have to go through. Like the leader of Argentina, I become Jewish too. Let's all become Jewish. And following that line of thought, how about just ask the Arabs in the Middle East whether they want to become Jewish or they want to die? I can assure you all those Palestinians will become Jewish. It's not that difficult. This is not a bloodline. Judaism is a religion. It has a book. You can learn it and you can speak it and you can pass down the tradition. Therefore, anybody can do it. Anybody who can learn and speak it and pass down the tradition can become Jewish. This is a religion. It's not a bloodline. But you're keeping it as a bloodline because you are a bloodline. You're a bloodline from Europe. Your fair skin says so. Your fair skin and light hair says you are European. What are you fighting in the Middle East? Why are you advocating for a fight in the Middle East, a land that you obviously don't belong to? By the way, they're brown and they're dark, with different shades of brown. They even have some black people native to Palestine, and fairer ones because the children of all those men who passed through in the Crusades, they didn't kill the woman. So there is some mixture there, but the amount of sun exposure you're getting over there, people are getting over there, means that the ones that are brown will live longer than the ones that are lighter skinned. Salute. Because of carcinoma. So the point is this. I'm sorry, I like Ashkenazi folks. I think you can serve better purpose than fight over land. All these sciences needs people. Fighting over land with Asians, like the cowboys and Indians. I'm not sure why you would want to be in favor of it. This is like lamb to the slaughter, Mr. Kaplan. You're a small group of pinkskins from Northern Hemisphere trying to establish a presence, earn respect of the neighbors, and insist on being their leader. Dear Mr. Kaplan, it's called Arabian Peninsula for a reason, because they're all Arabs. Whether they're Christian, Muslim or Jewish, they're Arabs. You want to be the leader of Arabian Peninsula? Being the boss with the big dick means the leader. Having the nuclear weapons and the biggest army and this, and that means you are. It's like South Africa in Africa. They were trying to be the leader of Africa when they were white, leader of at least that corner. You also want to be the leader of Arabian Peninsula, but the problem is you're not Arab. 90% of the population of Israel is not Arab. They're Europeans. And please don't give me that, we have Sephardic Jews and we have Ethiopian Jews. No. There's make up 2% of your population. Actually, Sephardics makes 5, according to all the sources, encyclopedia, 95% of the population, Jewish population of the world are made up of Ashkenazi Jews. So when you take a sample of the big sample in a small sample, you're going to have the same percentages. If you got a big jug of wine and you take a small glass of wine, the concentration doesn't change. If 90% of population of Jewish population of the world are European, that means 90% of the population of Israel are European. It's because it's a smaller sample of the from the bigger jug. My point is this: that you're a colony of people from northern hemisphere with light skin in West Asia, encircled by Arabs, and you want to be their leader with the force of a club, if we must. Yeah, we have a saying. We say it's like you're trying to uh, you're trying to you're doing a useless act, sir. It's a non-starter. Unless you kill all the Arabs, you can't be, you might not. Basically, if you break down all the Arabs to populations, to segments less than 5 million, less than you, then you can be the leader of Arabian Peninsula. Outside of that, no, you can't, because there are people, the natives have a claim. The whole native, I'm talking about even the Saudis, the Jordanians, not they're kings. Their kings don't they speak for their family. It's a family business. No, the people over there, they can see your fair skin, and 90% of the population of Israel is fair skin, and actually doesn't like the native population. That's the thing. I mean, this thing didn't have to become a state. You could have you could have formed Brazil or anywhere in the Americas. You could have formed such a society from the beginning and mingled with the natives, and not, be involved in politics, but proportionally based on your presence, and let your presence go unknown. Let your presence be unknown to the natives, as if unknown that there's no need to be known. It's like trying to find out how many Jewish people are living in New York. Is it relevant? Everybody is peaceful. Everybody is living. How many they are? But they still have some number. For bureaucratic purposes, somebody keeps numbers, but it's not a necessity to know, because you're mingling with the natives. Why can't New York City have replicated in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv? It's like, and these pink skins have learned to actually keep the old names. It's still called Chickasaw, but it's no longer contains any Chickasaw. No, my point is this: you could have been much smarter than that, and just somebody's got to do the labor. Now you're telling the natives, the way I understand it, maybe I'm wrong, you're telling the Palestinian natives, for the past 60 years apparently, is that you live over there in your quarters, but then we give you a labor pass to come and do labor here, and then at night you have to go back to your quarters. That's a bit standoffish. You actually have been using the native labor for the past 50, 60 years in Israel because you needed the labor. It's just a matter of where they sleep at night is important for you. It's sort of like, no, I know. I can't have an inside dog. You see what I'm saying? I can't have an inside dog for the same reason you want them to go to their quarters and sleep in Gaza and the West Bank after they work during the day. Apparently this has been there going on for a long while. And actually businesses actually moved some of their production lines inside Gaza and the West Bank, because that's where the labor is. It makes life a lot easier to have the labor do the labor in their camps. And the whole idea behind bombing of Gaza to smithereens has been to, you found out that there's a whole economy going on where all the jobs are in Gaza because the labor is so much cheaper. So you decided, nope, this is not going to work. Okay, now you're importing labor from India. You bomb them to smithereens to kick them out totally. We don't want all the industry moving to Gaza because the labor is cheaper, just like the industry has moved to India because the labor is cheaper. You didn't want that. You bomb them to smithereens, and you're going to import your labor from India. Have Indians made anything better wherever they went? Indians can't make their own country better. They've had many goes at it. You're getting help from people who can't help themselves. Because it's manual labor. I'm not sure what are you fighting for. Here's the thing, sir. What are you fighting is the pink skin presence in Eastern Mediterranean. That's what you're fighting for. It's sort of like we, the pink skin from Europe, we don't trust the Arabs. They may get together, form an Arab union, like a Soviet Union, and we don't want that to happen, and we want these petty squabbles continuing. We want these people on their ass. The whole part that you say Arabs are basket cases, that's the whole idea. We need these people on their ass. So Israel has actually made them basket cases. Every time they united to do something and show a backbone, Israel just lobbed a couple of missiles at them and said, shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down. Okay, you can do that. But you're an Ashkenazi in the Arabian Peninsula, in the area of the world that we call Arabian Peninsula. You want to have an Ashkenazi tribe rule or be on top, which it is Israel. Artificially, Israel has been kept on top by Anglo-Saxons mostly, the British and Uncle Sam's managers, and the European, the Germans and the Italians. They're very xenophobic, so they actually probably don't want you back. So they've chipped in as long as you don't come back there, so to inflame the old racial tensions. As long as you don't come back there, they're happy to shell out arms and money. And you're fighting a losing battle, sir, because you're 5 million Europeans from the Ashkenazi tribe belonging to by the Caspian Sea. From there, you somehow have some religious claim over a religion which originated there. What you're saying is basically, imagine how funny the situation would be that the couple of million Malaysians just come right out of the blue and say, we have become Muslim. That's the Muslim Holy Land, Saudi Arabia. We want to go live next to the holy place in Saudi Arabia. A couple of million Malaysians. And come hell or high water, we're going to get there and we're going to live there. How do you think that Saudi Arabians would feel? How would the Arabs would be accommodating with so many people claiming that they have to live on that land because I guess it's the right thing to do. I mean, here's the thing. Next year in Jerusalem, fine, invite me too. But as a tourist, everybody, all Europeans, they can come visit as tourists. Or maybe even go live there. But to own a government, to own the biggest army in the Middle East, to own the big dick in the Middle East. A small group of Europeans. A small group of Europeans own the biggest dick in the Middle East of Arabs. Arabian Peninsula. Here's the thing, Mr. Kaplan. Cyrus, I understand, maybe I'm wrong. It's somebody that you recognize as maybe not a bad guy. He let my people go. I guess that's the common understanding. And after Cyrus, they're all shit. Just Cyrus. Okay. Here's the thing. Sir, Cyrus didn't know a Jew from a Jamhadar. Back then, you were one of the cults from there. When you were, there were Arabs. You're European. The Jewish people who were being held as slaves, they were Arab Jews from there originally. Not you. This is you're European. At least for the past 20,000 years. Those Arab Jews that were set free by the Cyrus that you say, oh, maybe he wasn't such a bad guy. He didn't know a Jew from a Jamhadar, but he set you free because you were being abused. You were human beings walking on 2 feet and verbally communicative. So that means you're of the same IQ. So why should we be treated like animals as slaves or whatever they were in Babylon? Babylon? Was it not? I'm not sure. His idea was that I'm going to set these people free. I don't need any more slaves than I already have. Leave me here, slaves. I don't need any more slaves than I already have. So I'm going to, let these people go on your way and we build your temple. The whole idea was he didn't care what they were. It became important to you, to your religion, because he did a good thing for your people, but he did it because they were the underdog. They were being abused. He didn't care what these people call themselves. They call them Jews or Jamhadar. I don't care. I don't need any more slaves. And he set them free. The whole idea was because you were the underdog. You were being abused. Here's the thing, sir. Who's being abused in the Middle East now? The Arabs. The Arabs are being abused, have been being abused for 75 years. So, any questions why Iranians are, not happy? Because they see this time the underdogs, the ones that are being abused, are the natives. The Arab natives are being abused by a group of people from Europe. A little cowboys and Indians, a little Bugsy Siegel, and you have a shit show going in West Asia where it's cowboys and Indians shooting at each other. But guess who's the problem? The cowboy is the problem. Because the whole land belonged to the redskin. Over there, if you're Jewish and brown skin, you should stay. But if you're white and you claim to be Jewish or you are Jewish, no, you belong to the northern hemisphere. We can't just go in and declare that, this land is ours because. Look at my missiles. This land is ours because we got a big dick. You can do that, but every day you have to be prepared to every day fight the natives, because you're a gorilla trying to be the leader of the chimps. You're Ashkenazi trying to lead the Arabs in Arabian Peninsula. They're fighting back. I'm not sure what part of this, with your Swiss education, I'm not sure what part of this you're not getting. So there goes the basket case. In order to make these Arabs understand that you're on top, you're bombing them daily. You have been bombing them daily for 75 years. The Syrians have been receiving it up the ass every 10 days or so. Recently, for the past 5-10 years. At one point you mentioned the Arab states are leading a renaissance. I'm sorry, these Arabs, as in like you're saying these friendly Arab states, the ones you went to school to, are leading a renaissance. So, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, these guys are like Hong Kong. These are all vassal states. They don't call their governor, they call their governor king or sultan or whatever the fuck they call them. They're certainly not representative, and and the whole beside Dubai that has become a big shopping mall, built big, the whole thing has become a big building. Beside that, it's like 40% of the population of Saudi Arabia lives right on the poverty line. 40%, according to many independent research. Have you seen any, recent videos about the squabbles that the 60-70% of the Saudi Arabians are living in with all that oil money? Are you kidding me? So my point is, it's sort of like it's Hong Kong, and media are not welcome. It's well known that in none of these Arabian countries, media is not welcome. So they have to get permission here and permission that. They put the mind there with you, all of that, and they will be pissed off. They will not issue you any more visas if you are not nice to them and show the truth. So this idea that those Arab states that are not our friends, remember the Ashkenazi, who want to become the leader of Arabian Peninsula. I mean, if that may have to happen if you convert all of them to Judaism. I kind of think maybe you can do that. Just ask all the Arabs around you that if they want to become Jewish. I have a feeling many of them would. If it saves their life, then you have a big Jewish population to rule over. And believe me, nobody has a problem. If all those Arabs around you become Jewish tomorrow, and you let them live in the land that they want to live in, which you kick them out, just tell them you convert to Judaism, you can go live in Palestine or Israel. Now we call it Israel, but you can live there as long as you're Jewish. I think a lot of them will do that if it saves their life. But that's the thing. Even if you convert them and let them in, it eschews the racial demographic. That's the thing with Israel. It's a racial country. It's not a religious country. It's a racial country. That's why you can't just convert the Arabs and let them live, because then the Arabs would be the majority. Although they're Jewish, but they would be Arabs. And last night I was in a conversation, I said something, and the guy just thinks that we don't know because we haven't read anything. The guy basically says, no, 50% of the population of Israel are Arabs. Jewish Arabs, Sephardics. I'm like, dude, have you looked up encyclopedia? That is not possible. Mathematically, if 90% of the Jewish people who identify as Jewish, if 90% are European, that makes it very difficult to have 50% presence in Israel, where 90% of all the videos that come out of Israel, you can't hide all the videos that come out that people are taking of themselves. 90% are European, white. I don't know which part of Europe, but they're white. Yeah, you brought a couple of Sephardics, poor folks, you just bombed the shit out of their country or sanctioned the shit out of their country until you forced the Sephardics to move to Israel. What are you building, sir? What is this, again, this affinity of living right there? This can be like Hajj. People once a year go visit, spend some money and go back. Good for the natives, good for the followers. The idea that we have to go live over here because we're of the same religion, but that no, those Arabs cannot convert to our religion. Why not? I think all the Arabs should start converting to Judaism. If that's all it takes for you to leave them alone and let them keep their lands. But this is not it. You're a racial colony. Here's how it has come together. The Anglo-Saxons have decided they need a big footprint. They need a big footprint up the Arabian Peninsula's ass. Israel is the big footprint of the Anglo-Saxons, where they want it. You're like a shoe that the Anglo-Saxons are using to shove it up the Arab's ass. I wouldn't want to be the shoe. I'm not going to be the guy who actually has the shoe on, and I also don't want to be the shoe that goes up somebody's ass, because the shoe is going to come out shitty as well. You see what I'm saying? There's no way you're going to come out, the Ashkenazi are going to come out looking good in this manner. You have taken land from the natives. Do the cowboys have a good name? Their descendants are very rich, but they don't have a good name, and everybody knows it. You see what I'm saying? Many years later, everybody is kind of ashamed of what happened to the Redskins. Kind of ashamed. They should be. Europeans, instead of, staying in Europe and minding their business, they decided to. And the question that goes around is whether the Israelis are in the driving seat, or whether Uncle Sam's managers are on the driving seat. Well, it doesn't really matter. Does it matter? Because if the car is going a certain direction, who matters? It's who's sitting in the driving seat. It's a kind of relationship that the British had, and the French had, and the Spanish had with their colonial brothers across the pond, North Atlantic and South Atlantic. That's the same kind of relationship. It's a relationship that do you care that such a king of England was in charge over there in the colonies, or not, or the colonies were telling him what to do, or representatives of the colonies. I'm sure those people who war against the American revolutions were basically in bed with the British. They were getting the very good deals in terms of export and import. So, this independence business, my point is this, that, sir, you declared your statehood somewhere in the middle of 20th century, and you started kicking the Arabs' tail. Or they decided to, they're humiliated. A group of Europeans have settled up shop here, and they're calling themselves the owners of a piece of land here, that the whole place, you somehow say that Arabs around there, basically here's your point of view in the conversation, that if the Iranians weren't there, all these Arabs around us would have left us alone. Well, you said that the same thing about the Saddam. If Saddam wasn't there, we would not have any issues with Iraq. They're lobbing missiles at you from Iraq. Let's say the Chinese are providing the missiles. Let's say the Malaysians are providing the missile. Doesn't make any difference who's providing the missile. If these folks didn't have an issue with you, they wouldn't even be throwing rocks at you. They have an issue with you because you're a European. You want to be the big penis in the Arabian Peninsula. All Arabs are insulted. Iranians are not even Arabs, and they're insulted because for the same reason they set the Jews free all those years ago. because the Jews were underdog. There was an injustice taking place. Today, the injustice is Europeans have come in and declared ownership in Asia. Leave all the color and religion, all of that aside. Europeans have decided to call Asia Europe. If you have any doubts, you go look up and you see all Jewish, Israeli sports team compete mostly in Europe. Israeli sports team compete mostly in Europe. Sort of like saying American sports team used to compete even before independence. I'm sure American sports team used to compete in Europe even before the independence. Because that's what you are when you're a colony of those in a corner of the world which the natives are not of your race. They're not even of your color. You declare ownership and you think at that point you're going to win against the natives? I'm sorry, but it's so who's in the driving seat? It really doesn't matter. Because both of their objective, if they may differ on many issues, but on one issue they agree, and that is the natives shall be put down. Basically, both the head of the spear and the tail of the spear, they always aim at the same direction. The head of the spear and the tail of the spear. Anglo-Saxons, the tail of the spear, and Israel is the head of the spear. They're both facing the same directions. It's just that they may differ in their speed preference, but the idea is get rid of the natives, put the natives on their ass, keep the natives down, because we do not want to risk the security of Israel. Therefore, the natives cannot be stronger than Israel. Not economically, not politically, not militarily, the natives shall not be stronger than Israel. Why? Because Israel is a white colony in brown Middle East that somehow have some kind of a holy claim on the land. Much like Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck's ancestor had some holy claim on some poor Redskins land. Come on, man. That's the thing that I like the Ashkenazi folks, but I don't understand why would you want to be a head of a spear. And again, back to the idea, even if you don't want to visit, you want to be permanently present, that's fine. But why not open the immigration doors and open the camp doors and say, okay, you also can go live wherever you want. We buy your land. You also become a rich person here, but if we want your land, we buy your land. And you add to the product. Let the workers in. That's exactly what South Africa was doing. That's exactly what Georgia was doing. Black people in their quarters, and only during day. That was the rule both in Georgia and in South Africa. Georgia, the state. Only during the day. That's exactly the system you're implementing in Israel. Only during the day, those Palestinians who come through for labor with proper pass and identification, we want those because we need labor here. I'm sorry, if they're good enough to work on the land, aren't they good enough to live on the land? And then you're going to import Indians. Yeah. That's what exactly South Africa did, mind you, because they didn't want to work with the native black folks. They imported a lot of Indians. They did it too. You go down the same path, and every time the path turns shittier and shittier and shittier. It's to the sane society. And then the funny thing is, at one point you said you accused the Iranians of imperial ambitions. No, what you don't realize that you are a tentacle of Anglo-Saxon imperial ambitions in West Asia. You don't see that. Come on, man. With Swiss education, you don't see that you're a tentacle of Anglo-Saxons. All this money and arms that they're sending you, you don't feel like a tentacle. Iranians don't want to go live in Palestine. The Iranians want to see the shit stop and these Arabs stop suffering and can go back to their land. I think this is their idea. I don't even, they're not even, fighting for any kind of religion at this point because they're not even Sunni. And most of the population over there had converted into Sunni Islam some years ago. But they just want the shit to stop. But you guys sort of say, no, 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 you're cheaping by, basically you're saying, we're going to keep the Arabs out even if we have to bomb them out of existence. And then you're going to import labor from India. Go to India, live between Indians, and tell me you want to import labor from India. Are you serious? I'm not saying the Arabs are much better, but you're changing one shit show for another shit show. What's wrong with an original shit show? Because the original shit show has some claim on the land, and you don't want that. You want to cut that off. We were going to bring in a shit show who doesn't have a claim on the land, much like what the Arabs are doing. They bring help from Bangladesh, and the rich ones are bringing help from Bangladesh, and the poor ones are basically 40% on the poverty line, below the poverty line. Sir, what I'm trying to say is that Israel has become like a knife on the side of Asia. And again, it doesn't matter who's holding the handle and who's the knife. In reputation wise, is the Jewish people, the Ashkenazi, have become known as the knife, reputation wise. Whether you control the guy who's holding the knife as well, whether Israel is controlling Uncle Sam's managers and the British, or the British and Uncle Sam are controlling Israel, doesn't matter. It's the knife, a hand attached to a knife, gone to the side of Asia. All the guts has spilled out, and this is all the bloodshed. Because you're the knife. Again, it's called Arabian Peninsula. That's the body. Arabian Peninsula is the body. The one that doesn't identify as the body is the piece of metal called the knife. That's doing all the bloodshed. Ring any bell? Israel is doing all the bloodshed because Israel is the part of the body that doesn't belong in the body. It's like a knife into the gut. Arabs are the body, Arabian Peninsula. This is my short-sighted education also understands this. Your Swiss education doesn't get this? Oh, you are the knife because you are not of the natives. And when they look at you, they hear your language, which belongs your uh, the language beside Hebrew, which you learned by reading a book that came from the book came from the Middle East. You didn't. The book came from the Middle East. You also came from Middle East, but like me, I came from the Middle East. 20,000 years ago, we all passed through Palestine. Some of us went this way, and some of us went that way. But that Suez Canal is where all of our ancestors passed over. Now, how long did they stay in that area, Israel, Palestine? How long they stayed before they went east or north? Who knows? Some left sooner, some left later. But our ancestors all passed through there, through evolutionary path that we all know. It, it's ridiculous to shed so much blood for a land that you hold sacred. You spill blood on your sacred land? In my planet, we don't spill blood on our sacred land. Even if the guys who's coming in has got a big dick, we stand back and say, okay. But as long as that guy doesn't try to throw us off the land as well. The new guy is welcome in as long as the new guy doesn't want to throw me off my land. The land that I've been living on for a very long time. You're kicking out the natives. You're showing them a holy book. It's like, hey, you see, you're brown and you're natives. This is my holy book. And as you can see, I'm from Caspian Sea region. I'm very white, pale. But I claim this land based on this deed that was written in this book, that when it was written for the brown people. At least you gotta be brown. You wanna be Jewish, but you belong to the northern hemisphere. At least you gotta be brown to live in Arabian. Let's put it this way. You be brown and you're welcome to live in Arabian Peninsula because because of the amount of sunshine they get, the certain necessity for melanin. That's the problem. You're not thinking. It's like, this is a problem with crowds. I'm sure these Ashkenazi folks are intelligent one by one. They're brilliant. But when you put them together, they say crowds are stupid. That's crowd mentality. They say crowds are stupid. This is an example in front of us. This is an example in front of us. That individual is smart, but when they form a crowd, they suddenly become stupid. You're going to kill the natives, then you're going to import the labor that you need from India. Indians don't stay labor, sir. When Indians become middle management, over time they will suck up their way to middle management over time, and then they feel insulted as well with your racial apartheid, and then the Indians will start bullshit as well, just like the Indians who helped black South Africans eventually break free. A lot of people around Nelson Mandela and around those upper ups in ANC were Indians, of people of Indian heritage. So you want to take your pill now, you want to take your pill later. Another 10-20 years of Indians in Israeli society. And there was a video just recently saw that an Indian guy who apparently has gone for labor and said become friends with a white girl, Jewish girl, Israeli Jewish girl, as boyfriend girlfriends, or supposedly, at least they pretended, and they tried to go to 10 different bars, and the security of the bar would not allow them in because of being an interracial couple. This is it. You're going to invite Indians in as labor. Eventually they will become middle management. Eventually they would want to go out with your girls. Eventually they will be insulted. Eventually there will be lawsuits, police involved. And then you have to hand the keys over. You see where I'm going with this? But eventually it will lead to the same place. You have to let go. You're Europeans. You can't rule Arabian Peninsula. You first have to be an Arab to rule Arabian Peninsula. But, Anglo-Saxons don't want that. So they put you at the point of the spear, and they're giving a good lashing to the Arabs with the help, you're at the point guard. You're at the point of the spear. What the hell are Ashkenazi doing at the head of the spear, at the sharp end of the spear? I'm sorry, you can be in sciences, you can be, especially in science, nothing else. Please all sign up for sciences. What the fuck? You're doing cowboys and Indians with a bunch of Arabs? Literally cowboys and Indians. No, I think Iranians, the only problem, the only thing they want is quiet down over there. And it will not quiet down until you let the Arabs in and declare a secular society. Jews are welcome to stay. Just be part of the society, not above society, and teach your people to be nice to their neighbors, Arab neighbors, the Muslims, Christians. There are videos coming in out of Israel that, young Jewish kids are spitting on Muslims. They're giving a good bashing to the Muslims and also spitting on the Christians walking by in Israel. I'm sorry. And these guys these Americans go to Israel and go through these tours, but they're obviously their tours are directed, so they're not the ones being spit on. They don't stay long enough. They don't stay long enough to understand the tension beneath the skin of Israeli society. It's a racial tension mixed with religious tension. Are you serious? And you think this society is sustainable? Sir, sustainability, when you say a system is stable, means it's a system that you don't have to have any input in it, put any force on it. That system is stable. If you become part of the society and proportional to your population, have representation and open all these gates and let the Palestinians back to their land, keep the name Israel, fine. Let the Palestinians, all of them, whoever wants to live, come here. Jewish people are going to be in a minority, right? The white people in South Africa, there are still many of them left. Although I don't know why, for what reason. But you have to accept to be a minority. In other words, the moment, that's the back to the knife and the gut. The moment the knife changes identity and becomes part of the body is the moment it stops bleeding. But can the knife change identity and become meat? Can the knife change identity and become my 13th rib? I don't know, 11th rib, 13th year, whatever. If the knife cannot change identity, neither can the Ashkenazi change identity and become Arabs. What you can do is dissolve into the population. Yes, piece of metal does dissolve into, if it's small enough, it can stay in the body. I understand 50 Cent's got a couple of pieces of metal stuck in from previous assassination attempts, stuck in his body. But it's there and he's doing his thing and our metals are there. You see what I'm saying? That could be Israel. Okay, the Jews are there, they have their own colonies. They have colonies. They say stay the size of a colony. Because you're in the minority. It's called Arabian Peninsula, for heaven's sake. It's not called Ashkenazi Peninsula. And the Semites are the brown native. To be a Semite, you have to be brown, because Semites come from a specific geography, and that geography, the sun's rays are so harsh that causes people, people who are brown to stay alive, and anybody who was born fair dies before reproduction. Seriously? You're doing a nonsense job over there of trying to, a bunch of Europeans dropping by, trying to become the, you know, Lawrence of Arabia. The Ashkenazi want to become Lawrence of Arabia, sort of like the leader of the Arabs. To the same society. That's the thing. If you really think about it, Mr. Kaplan, you have taken enough of your time, I think. If you really think about it, you're the chimps. We all understand the chimps are, smarter than gorillas. That's I don't understand. That's the general understanding. I've read it somewhere. So the chimps are smarter than the gorillas. Fine. You're saying that we are the chimps want to be the leaders of the gorillas in Arabian Peninsula. It's as simple as that. You go down the evolutionary ladder. Although the chimp may be smarter, but the gorillas will not allow a chimp to be their leader. Period. And vice versa. The pack of chimps is not going to allow a gorilla to be their leader. Doesn't matter how big the gorilla is, how big his stick is. They're chimps. They speak a different language. They are of a different race. They're chimp. No gorilla can rule a chimp pack. This is pure biology, evolutionary biology. You're still closer in race. What one would think that you understand that this is primal. But nevertheless, you say, no, we are smart, but we are going down this path. We're going to be in 1,000 years of war with the natives. Or either they vaporize us or we will vaporize them. Or 1,000 years of war. I'm sorry, who's benefiting, Mr. Kaplan? The Ashkenazi benefit from 1,000 years of war because they want to be independent, not in their own land, but in somebody else's land. Europeans want to be independent in Asia. Isn't that the whole idea behind Hong Kong? You're the Hong Kong of the West. The ruling class of Hong Kong was Asian. It basically was the Asian colony. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm European. So my point is this, Mr. Kaplan. It's a very unproductive. Israel concept is a very unproductive. It's causing a lot of pain. It's like a knife that is not native. Is going to up somebody's sternum. It's not natural because you're Europeans trying to become king of the Arabs. The most powerful country in Arabian Peninsula is not made up of Arabs. Arabs, don't have any, because of this, the Arabs have not been able to earn any respect around the world. And that's also your problem. You pretend in your conversation, sir, you pretended that, if the Iranians weren't there, just like you guys pretended that if Saddam wasn't there, if none of these leaders were there, then we wouldn't have any problem. Do you have problem with Iraq still? If the king of Jordan wasn't, murdering his own people, you would have a lot of problem with the people of Jordan. If the Sisi was not clamping down on his people, you would have a lot of problem with the Egyptian people. Dude, a balanced system does not need external pressure to be applied. You're not a balanced system, therefore you need a lot of external pressure to be applied to keep it imbalanced. That pressure is coming from Raytheon and Boeing and BlackRock and Goldman Sachs, and this is the external pressure. This is the rich colonialist back home supporting the poor colonialist at the tip of the spear. We went through this before, sir, in the Americas, in Australia. They had a different religion, but we went through this. But with with the help of neighboring countries, just like South Africa had help all the way from Cuba, with the help of Russians, and the Chinese, Cubans ended up in Angola, and beat up South Africa. That was the beginning of the end. It's not because the Cubans are bad or good, or the Saddam was bad or good. It's the natural order of things. You can only keep a system in balance if you apply force continuously. If you can only keep a system imbalanced, if you're willing to apply the force continuously. Force costs energy. Energy means money. As long as you have an open wallet, you can keep an imbalanced system going. Imbalance means Arabs are not in charge of Arabian Peninsula. A group of Ashkenazi folks from Europe have helped themselves down and are in charge of Arabian Peninsula, because for their security nobody should be stronger. So we naturally make a good boss. we make a good boss of the natives. I'm sorry, unless you're planning on eliminating all the Arabs and becoming the only people living on the Arabian Peninsula, that's not going to happen. That's first of all, it's a bad idea to wipe out all the Arabs, because if they're against our existence. And it's not Iran, it's not Saddam, it's not Assad, it's not this, it's not that. It's you guys. You guys are not native. At least they speak the same language, Arabic, which I don't speak. But at least they speak the same language. You speak an European language. Yiddish, this is what I was about to say earlier in the talk. Yiddish is the second Jewish language, is the language of the Ashkenazi, where we understand 90% of the Jewish population of the world are Ashkenazi. Their native tongue is Yiddish, and I understand it has many commonalities with German. Many commonalities. Common words. Close words with German. So you're European. If your language has many common words from the language of the Germans, means for a very long time you were a neighboring tribe to the Germans. Neighboring tribes, their languages overlap, leave profound effects on each other. Just like there are many Persian words in Hindi, just because they're neighbors. There are many Hindi words in Persian language. Arabic and Persian, same thing. Folks, your language has commonalities with German. It doesn't have commonalities with Arabic. Except, pronunciations are a little weird. But because you're not speaking Yiddish, although 90% of the population can speak Yiddish, but you're not speaking Yiddish, you're speaking Hebrew, which is what was the language of the Arabs who originally had this religion. Hebrew is not the language of Ashkenazi. Yiddish is the language of the Ashkenazi. Hebrew is the language of those Arabs who used to be Jewish. You convert to the religion of some Arab people who were Jewish. So you convert to their religion, and then a couple of millennia later, you claim the land. If I convert to a Swahili religion, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years later, my descendants can have some kind of claim to the Swahili land? Are you serious? And the problem is the Anglo-Saxons are helping you to hang yourself. Hanging yourself is a metaphor for what you're doing. Trying to rule the Arabian Peninsula while being European Ashkenazi. It's just a useless act, sir, with all due respect. You want to live there. Just proportionally based on your population, you send members to the parliament. Just call it parliament, because let's not use a specific. Make English the language of the land, lingua franca. Make English lingua franca, franco, I don't know. And secular government, and anybody with proportion, the same thing they do in every democracy in the world, divide up the land to, districts and send proportional to your population, you send representatives. This is idea of South Africa kind of business that we are Europeans, we want to stay separate from the dirty natives. The natives are savages and dirty, and they're from a different religion, and we're going to stand offish, and we're going to push them in camps, and then just doesn't work. But then we're going to invite them in to do the labor, and then we're going to have problems with them. So we're going to kill them and import Indians to do our labor. It's been tried, sir. It's been tried. Please show as much intelligence as a group as you show individually. Stop doing this act that is obviously counterproductive. Trying to be, the king of the Arabs is an Ashkenazi. Really. That's the smart thing to be aiming for. It's not so. That's why you keep saying that, no, we are not Ashkenazi, we are Semites. No, sir, in order to be a Semite, you have to be an Arab. This is my understanding, that Arabian Peninsula is the land of the Semite. And to be an Arab means you have to be brown. It's just the necessity of the land and the arid climate and too much sunshine. In order to be a Semite, you have to be from the Arabian Peninsula. In order to be Arabian from the Arabian Peninsula, you have to be brown. Look in the mirror. If you're not brown, please live in Europe. Live in Northern Hemisphere. We don't care where in the Northern Hemisphere you live in, but you belong to the Northern Hemisphere. End of story. When the Jewish, thank God for Putin, who says, okay, Jewish population of Israel return home. 1.5 million out the door. Another 1.5 million who used to work with this 1.5 million, they leave because their business kind of, their partners just left for Russia. The other 1.5 million leave for because their business stopped working. They live for the rest of European countries, and it's like 1.5 million you cannot run a country with 1.5 million, and the whole thing will become, irrelevant. They start a secular government. Hopefully the killing stops. You guys start a secular government, and any Jew who wishes to stay stays, and any Jew who wishes to leave. Ashkenazis who choose to stay understand that 75 years you've been giving these natives a hard time. You may have some problems, but if you let the natives out of their cage, so you probably want to leave too. This is a bad enterprise, sir. If for 75 years, sir, with the Swiss education, Mr. Kaplan, if for 75 years you try to push a round peg in a square hole with force, please stop. Please stop. If you're trying, this is what I'm trying to say, is that if you try to put a peg into a hole and you try it for 75 years, that's about the right time to give up. Because obviously that peg and hole were not made for each other. Please give up. Persistence is not always great. And crowds are crazy. A crowd could be made up of smart individuals, but crowds are always crazy. This is a bad enterprise, sir. Close shop, come home. We can use all the Ashkenazi brain that we can get in the sciences, period. You don't need to belong to a specific land. Do the Christians belong to a specific land? Do the Muslims belong to a specific land? Which religion belongs to a specific land that you want to be the second religion? There are Hindus all over North and South America. You're making mistakes, sir. Please call your people back. We need them in sciences. Go tell them to go back to Europe and North America and go make something.